Hello and welcome to the 5786 counting of the Omer. That's 2026 for those of you who go by the Gregorian calendar. This year, every day during the counting of the Omer, I'm going to upload a video in the evening time for New Zealand. So if you live outside of New Zealand, you may see this video before then. Either wait until evening time of that day of the Omer, or go ahead and watch the video, but then later you might want to come back or have some other source for the blessing so that you can say the blessing at the correct time in the evening time of that day of the Omer. Let's start out with a short blessing for Torah study. My personal favorite is the traditional text in Masachet Brachot on page 11b, but that uses masculine God language, and some people prefer God language that is feminine or that is neither masculine or feminine. So if you prefer, you can use one of those blessings. Um, and follow along. If you do not feel comfortable with God language at this time, that's okay. You can just say the last three words and just sort of have kavanah, intent, that you're dedicating this to the universe, to whatever sense of spiritual connection that you understand or feel in the world. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu le'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, sovereign of the universe, who makes us holy with your mitzvot, and who commanded us to get busy with the words of Torah. So, first off, what is the Omer? So, you already know that is a time period between Passover and Shavuot. We count 49 days. Well, we start that from the second night of Passover, and at the end, on the 50th day, we have Shavuot. Passover is the holiday of us being redeemed and leaving Egypt, leaving slavery, entering into our liberty and freedom. And Shavuot is the holiday on which we get the Torah, get the commandments and the teachings from God. And in between, we have these 49 days that we count. That's 7 weeks, 7 days each, of course. What does the word Omer mean? Well, just the simple meaning of the word Omer is a sheaf, and it is referring to a sheaf of grain. And this period is the period of the barley harvest. So we think of this as a sheaf of barley. So each day we're counting the sheaves or the fact that we've brought in sheaves of barley in our harvest season. Um, and why would we do that? Because at the end, we're going to be, or we would have been, if we had the temple, giving sacrifices from part of that uh, harvest that we had. Um, but there are other meanings to this time of counting as well. The Kabbalists believed that each of the weeks of the uh, Sefirah, the counting, Sefirah in this context means the counting of the Omer, uh, corresponded to one of the bottom seven Sefirot, these circles or spheres of emanation of God in the Kabbalistic tree of life. You can see here on the left-hand side of the screen, there is an image of the Kabbalistic tree of life. Up at the top, we have Keter, which means crown. And this is a, an aspect of God or an emanation of God that is so ineffable. It's just the crown of God. And then from there, we flow down into Chokhmah, which is wisdom, and Binah, which is intelligence or um, intuition, is another way that it's described. And then we flow from there into Chesed, which is loving kindness, or here they have the translation mercy. I much prefer the translation loving kindness. Uh, then Gevurah is strength. Tiferet is beauty, or yeah, beauty, splendor. Hod is also splendor. We'll get to that in a minute. So Tiferet, beauty. Netzach is victory, but it's also eternity. And Hod is splendor, sparkling. Yesod is foundation. And then Malchut is the emanation of our physical reality, literally means kingdom or sovereignty, but it's our flesh and blood reality. So you'll see on the right hand side of that image, the top says Atzilut, and then section number 2 says Bria, section number 3 says Yetzirah, and then the bottom number 4 says Asiya. So Atzilut is this Kabbalistic world or this idea of the space in which an idea comes into being, like it's your first thought, the beginning of a spark of inspiration. So imagine that God is just coming up with the idea of creating something in this world. In Bria, this is the world in which things are designed, architected, planned out. In Yetzirah, this is the world in which things are formed into shape. And Asiya is the world of doing, the physical world where things are actually happening. So for every day of the Omer, because this is a commandment, we say a blessing on the commandment before we actually count the days. The blessing goes like this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Blessed are you, Lord our God, sovereign of the universe, who made us holy with the commandments and commanded us on the counting of the Omer. And then we do the actual counting of the Omer. Hayom Yom Echad LaOmer. Today is day 1 of the Omer. And then Kabbalists add Ana Chesed Shebechesed Elohim. Please, Chesed, loving kindness that is in Chesed, God. So what do we do with this idea that each of these days of the Omer has these two aspects of the emanation of God or the divine source in it? Well, we meditate, we might journal, we might look for ways in which either these aspects are showing up in our life or ways in which we want to embody those aspects in the world. So here are a few suggestions for things that you can think about, whether you're taking a moment to stop and sit and do some deep breathing and close your eyes and really meditate on these ideas, or whether you're just thinking about them while you're walking by the way and doing stuff along your day. Doesn't really matter. Just find ways to embody these thoughts, to think about these things, and engage with the ideas, and maybe journal them a little bit. You can write in our community on school some of the things that you experienced this day, or some of your ideas that you thought of as you were meditating on these concepts. So, what is chesed? What is loving kindness? Just spend some time thinking about that. Like, what does that even mean? How does God bring loving kindness into the world? At At first, that seems like just a simple question, but the more you think about it, the deeper it can go. And how does God bring loving kindness specifically into my life? Maybe spend some time contemplating the love that a healthy parent has for their small child. And then let that feeling of love for the small child, just really envelop you. What is the experience of loving kindness as the person who loves and shows kindness? And then flip it on its head. Contemplate the experience of being loved by a healthy parent completely and unconditionally, and let that feeling just envelop you. Perhaps you might spend some time thinking, what does it mean to have loving kindness inside of loving kindness? What does that mean? What does it mean for loving kindness to flow from loving kindness? And how can I embody this flow of loving kindness into the world? I'd love to read some of your thoughts and ideas, and also whatever experiences you've had throughout the day after thinking about these things and engaging with the ideas of chesed shebechesed. Hope I get to see you tomorrow. Join the conversation on school.